Hello friends, welcome to the Point. Let's continue our discussion on socio-cultural reform movements and their leaders. Spread of the reform movements in western and southern India. So after Bengal, the most important region where the movement of reform spread was western part of India. And Bal Shastri Jambekar, he was one of the first reformers in Bombay. He attacked Brahminical orthodoxy and he tried to reform popular Hinduism. In 1849, Paramahamsa Mandali was founded in Pune, Satara and other towns of Maharashtra. Its followers had faith in one God and they opposed caste system. At its meetings, members took food cooked to low caste people. They favored education of women and supported widow remarriage. Mahadev Ranade, he believed that without social reforms, it is not possible to achieve any progress in political and economic fields. So he was a great advocate of Hindu-Muslim unity. Two other great reformers in Western India were Gopal Hari Deshmukh, Lok Hitwari and Jyotirao Govindrao Phule, which is popularly known as Jyotiba. They worked for the upliftment of women. They took up the cause of women and downtrodden masses. Jyotiba, with his wife, he started a girls' school in Pune in the year 1857. He also opened a school for the children of depressed classes. Jyotiba Phule was also a pioneer of widow remarriage movement in Maharashtra. He challenged the dominance of Brahmins and worked for organizing and activating the masses. Jyotiba championed the cause of villagers and he actively worked for rural development in Maharashtra. Jyotiba was given the title of Mahatma for his work for the cause of the oppressed. And in 1873, he founded Satyashodak to give strength to his movement and make it popular. In the southern part of India, Kandukuri Veerasalingam, he pioneered the movement in support of widow remarriage and girls' education in Andhra. Veda Samaj, founded in Madras in 1864, advocated discarding of caste distinctions and promotion of widow remarriage and women's education. Veda Samaj condemned the superstition and rituals of the orthodox Hinduism and it propagated belief in one supreme God. Chembeti Sridharalu Naidu was the most popular leader of the Veda Samaj. He translated books of Veda Samaj in Tamil and Telugu. An important movement, particularly significant for the emancipation of backward and oppressed sections of Indian society, it was started by Sri Narayana Guru. And in 1903, Sri Narayana Guru founded Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam to carry on work of social reform. Sri Narayana Guru considered differences between the caste and religion as meaningless and he advocated what he called one caste, one religion and one God for all. Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Arya Samaj. So if you attend a meeting of Arya Samaj, in these days also, you will find many women attending it. They are also performing yagnas and they are reading the scriptures. This was the basic contribution of Mool Shankar, who was an important representative of religion reform movement in India from Gujarat. He was later came to be known as Dayanand Saraswati. He founded Arya Samaj in the year 1875. The most influential movement of religious and social reform in North India, it was started by Dayanand Saraswati. He held the Vedas that contained all the knowledge imparted to man by God and essentials of modern science that could also be traced in them. He has opposed idolatry, ritual, and priesthood. He did this particularly to prevent caste practices and popular Hinduism, which was preached by the Brahmins. He favored the study of Western science. With all this doctrine, he went about all over the country, and in 1875 he founded Arya Samaj in Bombay. Satyartha Prakash was his most important book. The use of Hindi in his writing and preachings, it made his ideas accessible even to the common people of North India. Arya Samajis, they opposed child marriages and they encouraged remarriage of the widows. It made a rapid progress in Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan and Gujarat. A network of schools and colleges for boys and girls was established throughout northern India to promote the spread of education. Dayanand Anglo-Vedic School of Lahore, which soon developed into a premier college of Punjab, it set the pattern for such institutions. And instructions was imparted through Hindi and English on modern times. In 1902, Swami Shardananda, he started the Gurukul near Haridwar to propagate traditional ideas of education, and this was set up on the pattern of ancient ashramas. Arya Samaj tried to inculcate the spirit of self-respect and self-reliance among the people of India, and this promoted nationalism. At the same time, one of its main objectives was to prevent conversion of Hindus to other religions. It also prescribed a purificatory ceremony called for Hindus who had been converted to other religions like Islam and Christianity. The Ramakrishna Mission and Swami Vivekananda. Gadadhar Chattopadhyaya, also known as Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he was a poor Brahmin priest. His education did not proceed beyond the elementary stage, and he had no formal education in philosophy and Shastras. He dedicated his life to God. He believed that there were many roads to God, and the service of the man was service to God, because man was the embodiment of God. Therefore, the sectarianism had no place in his teachings. He realized the divinity in humanity, and he looked upon the service of mankind as a means to achieve salvation. Narendranath Datta, who was later known as Swami Vivekananda, he was the most devoted pupil of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who carried the message of his Guru Ramakrishna all over the world, especially in America and Europe. Vivekananda was proud of his India's spiritual heritage, but he believed that no individual or nation can live by holding himself or itself apart from the community of others. He condemned the caste system, rigid rituals, century-old superstition, and he advocated liberty, free thinking, and equality. Vivekananda was indeed a patriot from the core of his heart. He had tremendous faith in the evolution of Indian culture and an intense zeal to revive all that was good and great in her culture, so as to serve her in all possible ways for her onward march. Swami Vivekananda laid stress on Ramakrishna's teaching on essential oneness of all religion. He promoted the Vedanta philosophy, which he considered the most rational system. The principal features of Vivekananda's social philosophy was his insistence on the upliftment of the masses. For him, service to the poor and downtrodden was the highest religion. So, to organize such services, he founded Ramakrishna Mission in 1897. This mission to date It has played an important role in providing social service in times of national distresses like famine, floods, and epidemic. Many schools, hospitals, orphanages are run by Ramakrishna Mission. In 1893, Ramakrishna participated in All World Religious Conference at Chicago in United States of America. He argued that Vedanta was the religion of all and not Hindus alone. His address there made a deep impression on the people of other countries, and they helped to raise the prestige of Indian culture in the eyes of the world. Even though his mission was mainly of religious nature, he was keenly interested in the improvement of all aspects of national life. He expressed his concern for the miserable and poor condition of the people, and he said that neglect of the masses is a sin. And he frankly stated that it is we who are responsible for all our misery and all our degradation. He urged his countrymen to work for their own salvation. For this purpose, bands of workers devoted to this cause were trained through the Ramakrishna Mission. And therefore, Vivekananda emphasized social good or social services. Theosophical Society and Annie Besant. Theosophical Society, it played an important role in the history of religion, society, and culture of modern India. It was founded in USA in the year 1875 by a Russian spiritualist, Madame H.P. Blavatsky, and an American colonial, H.S. Olcott. The objective of Theosophical Society was to promote studies in ancient religions, philosophies, and science, and develop the divine powers latent in man and form a universal brotherhood of man. The society was introduced to India in the year 1879, and its headquarters was set up in Adayar near Madras in the year 1886. Its influence spread under Annie Besant in 1893, and Annie Besant played an important role in India's struggle for freedom. She and her associates, they advocated the revival and strengthening of ancient religions of Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, and Buddhism. They recognized the doctrine of transmigration of the soul. They also preached the universal brotherhood of man. They helped to impart to the educated Indians a sense of pride in their own country. Annie Besant's movement was a movement that led and supported by Westerners who glorified Indian religions and philosophical tradition. This helped Indians to recover their self-confidence. So in fact, the activities of Annie Besant in the field of education was also more significant. She founded the Central Hindu College at Benares, and which was later handed over to Madan Mohan Malaviya. He developed that college into Benares Hindu University. Although the Theosophical movement, it did not enjoy a mass popularity, its work under the leadership of Annie Besant for awakening of Indians, it was remarkable. She contributed a great deal to the development of national spirit in Indians. The headquarters of Theosophical Society at Adayar, it became a center of knowledge with a library of rare Sanskrit books. The society, that is the Theosophical Society, it fought against untouchability and it advocated upliftment of women. And Annie Besant dedicated her whole life to the cause of Indian society. She described her mission in these words like, "The Indian works is the first of all the revival, the strengthening and uplifting of ancient religions. This has brought with it a new self-respect and pride in the past, belief in the future, and as an inevitable result, a great wave of patriotic life, the beginning of rebuilding of a nation." And one of Mrs. Besant's achievement in India was the establishment of Central Hindu School. Annie Besant made India her permanent home and took a prominent part in Indian politics. The needs of India are, among others, and the development of a national spirit and an education founded on Indian ideas and enriched. It was not dominated by the thoughts and culture of the West. She always supported Home Rule for Indians and established a Home Rule League in 1916 to spread the message of self-rule. Branches of Theosophical Society were opened all over India and its journal Theosophist had a wide circulation. The society gave a helping hand in social and religious reform, especially in South India, and most of the work done by it was influenced by Annie Besant. Aligarh movement and Syed Ahmad Khan. So we have just now learned about the reform within Hindu religion, its practices and social institutions. A similar reform movement was also taking place with Islam people. The Muslim upper classes, they had tended to avoid contact with Western education and culture, and it was only after the revolt of 1857 that modern ideas of religious reform began to appear. The beginning made by Mohammedan Literacy Society, which was founded in Calcutta in the year 1863 by Nawab Abdul Latif. It promoted discussion of religious, social and political questions in the light of modern ideas, and it encouraged upper and middle class Muslims to adopt Western education. It also played an important role for Muslim unity. The Muslim masses were also influenced by movements carried on by Chishti Sufis, who preached not only submission to God but also they promoted the veneration of saints. And another movement is associated with Shah Waliullah in Delhi, who opposed the unorthodox religious practices and revived the Shia sect and strict monotheism. The philosophical and learned tradition of Firangi Mahal in Lucknow was incorporated into the new educational syllabus, and it propagated throughout India during 18th and 19th centuries. Sharifullah of Bengal was the leader of Fairazi movement in Bengal, which took up the cause of peasants and even spoke against the caste system among Muslims. The most notable of the Muslim reformers was Syed Ahmad of Raebareli in Uttar Pradesh. He attracted the Muslim artisans of the declining weaving towns of Allahabad and Patna, finding a ready audience and giving the common people dignity and an identity through a common faith at a time of social dislocation. He realized that unless the Muslims adapted themselves to the changed circumstance of British rule, they would be deprived of all opportunities for status and prosperity. He was highly impressed by modern scientific thoughts and worked all his life to reconcile it with Islam. Syed Ahmad, he interpreted the Quran in the light of rationalism and science. He urged the people to develop a critical approach and freedom of thought. He also warned against fanatism, narrow-mindedness and exclusiveness. He asked the people to be broad-minded and tolerant. In 1883 he said, now both of us, that is the Hindus and Muslims, both Hindus and Muslims live on the air of India, drink the holy waters of Ganga and Jamuna. We both, that is the Hindus and Muslims, both feed upon the products of Indian soil, and we are a nation and progress and welfare of the country. So both these religion peoples, they depend on our unity, mutual sympathy and love. While our mutual disagreement and opposition and ill feeling, it surely destroys both Hindus as well as Muslims. Syed Ahmad Khan, he rightly felt that isolation would harm the Muslim community, and to prevent that, he did his best to create a link with the progressive cultural forces of the outside world. He worked hard to remove the hostility of the British rulers towards the Muslims, who they considered as their real enemies. He felt that religious and social life of Muslims, it could be improved only with the help of modern Western scientific knowledge and culture. Therefore, promotion of modern education was his first task. As an official, he founded schools at many places. He got many Western books translated into Urdu. He started Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College in 1875 at Aligarh, and it was meant to be a center for spreading Western sciences and culture. And later this college grew into Aligarh Muslim University. The liberal social and cultural movement, it started by Syed Ahmad Khan among the Muslims, is known as Aligarh movement. It is originated in Aligarh. And this movement, it gave them a common fund of ideas and common language, that is Urdu. A Muslim press was developed for compilation of works in Urdu. And Syed Ahmad's efforts, it extended to social sphere as well. He worked for social reforms. He wanted women to be educated and advocated the removal of the Parda system, and he was also against polygamy. This Aligarh movement, it was largely responsible for the Muslim revival, and one of the greatest poets of modern India was Muhammad Iqbal. He profoundly influenced through his poetry the philosophical and religious outlook of younger generation of Muslims as well as of Hindus. He urged the adoption of dynamic outlook that would help change the world. He was basically a humanist. Reform movements among Parsis. Religious reform, it began among the Parsis in Mumbai in the middle of 19th century. In 1851, the Rehnumai Mas Dhayasan Sabha or Religious Reform Association, it was founded by Nauroji Furdonji, Dadabhai Naroji, S.S. Bengali and others. They started a journal, Rast Goftar, for the purpose of social religious reforms among the Parsis. They also played an important role in the spread of education, especially among girls. They campaigned against the entrenched orthodoxy in religious field, and they initiated the modernization of Parsi social customs regarding the education of girls' marriage and social position of women in general. So in the course of time, the Parsis became socially the most westernized section of Indian society. Religious reform among Sikhs. Religious reform among the Sikhs was started at the end of 19th century when the Khalsa College started at Amritsar. The efforts of Singh Sabhas, and with British support, the college was founded at Amritsar in 1892, and this college and school, it set up as a result of similar efforts, and it promoted Gurumukhi, Sikh learning and Punjabi literature as a whole. After 1920, the Sikh momentum, it gained momentum when the Akali movement rose in Punjab. The chief object of Akalis was to improve the management of Gurudwaras, or which is also called as Sikh shrines, that were under the control of priests or Mahants, who treated them as their private property. In 1925, a law was passed which gave the right of managing Gurudwaras to the Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee. Impact of the reform movement. The British wanted to appease the orthodox upper section of society, and as a result, only two important laws were passed. Some legal measures were introduced to raise the status of women. For example, sati was declared illegal in 1829, and infanticide was declared illegal. Widow remarriage was permitted by a law that was passed in the year 1856. Marriageable age of girls was raised to 10 by a law passed in 1860. A law passed in 1872, it sanctioned intercaste and intercommunal marriages. The other law passed in 1891, it aimed at discouraging child marriage. For preventing child marriage, the Shraddha Act was passed in 1929, and according to it, a girl below 14 and a boy below 18 could not be married. And in the 20th century, especially after 1919, the Indian national movement became the main propagator of social reform. Increasingly, the reformers took recourse to propaganda in Indian languages to reach the masses. So they used novels, dramas, short stories, poetries, press, and in 1930s, cinema to spread their views. And there were numerous individuals, reform societies, and religious organizations that worked hard to spread education among women, to prevent marriage of young children, to bring women out of the parda, and to enforce monogamy, and to enable middle class women to take up professions or public employment. And because of all these efforts, Indian women played an active and important role in the struggle for independence of the country. And as a result of this, many superstitions disappeared and many others were on their way out, and now it was no longer a sin to travel to foreign countries. So in the next session, let's discuss about the beginning of modern nationalism in India. Thank you.